Beneath the quiet sky, time loosens its hold. The earth remembers the footsteps of those who once lived, their voices fading into wind and dust. You are not in the present anymore. The world grows softer, older, slower, and history begins to breathe again, like something half asleep yet endlessly alive. The night unfolds gently, stretching across hills and valleys where cities once stood. The air is cool, and the stars shimmer like forgotten embers scattered by a tired hand. Beneath them lies the slow pulse of the earth, the quiet rhythm that has carried every age before this one. You can almost hear it, the sound of generations turning, the faint echo of tools, footsteps, and wind. Everything that once was still lingers, folded into the silence. There is a road here, though no one walks it anymore. Stones, cracked and half-buried, still mark the way. Moss grows between them, soft as memory. It leads toward the remnants of a wall, and beyond it, to a city that no longer moves. In its shadowed corners, history sleeps. Not gone, only resting. The air inside these ruins feels thick, alive with the breath of centuries. You can sense the weight of the lives that passed through. Merchants once opened their stalls at dawn, calling softly to travelers. The smell of bread drifted through narrow streets. Horses clattered across stone. Bells marked the passing hours, though no one remembers the sound now. Everything that was noise has become texture. Everything that was bright has turned into shade. Yet even in stillness, the city endures. The walls are worn smooth by wind, but they do not fall. A single window frame catches moonlight, and through it, you glimpse the emptiness within. Not sorrowful, only calm. Time here is not cruel, it is patient. It erases slowly, layer by layer, until all that remains is form, shape, essence. The people are gone, but their gestures remain. A doorway worn by countless hands, a step hollowed by countless feet. The air thickens as you move deeper. A faint scent of stone dust and age fills your lungs. Somewhere nearby, water trickles, steady, unchanging. It has flowed this way for centuries, polishing the rocks, whispering through cracks. Nature too remembers. It does not rebuild what was lost. It absorbs it quietly. Ivy climbs the walls, wrapping them in green sleep. The earth covers what time has forgotten, folding every ruin into its slow heartbeat. You stop at the edge of a courtyard. The moon spills across the ground, catching fragments of color on broken tiles. Once, this space was alive, filled with laughter, conversation, and movement. Now, it exists only as reflection. The stillness feels vast but not empty. It carries something deeper, the peace that follows endurance. The world, having spent itself in noise and ambition, has come back to rest. There is no tragedy here, only balance. The dust of empires has settled, not in defeat, but in acceptance. What once reached upward now returns to ground. What once sought to conquer now finds silence. The rhythm of history is not a march, but a tide, advancing, retreating, forever returning to calm. As the wind moves through the ruins, it gathers small echoes. A whisper of cloth, the faint scrape of metal, the distant tone of a voice that once mattered to someone. Then, like breath, it fades. The night closes gently over it. All that remains is stillness, complete, unbroken. You stand at the center of time's long circle. Around you lie the remains of worlds built and forgotten, dreamed and dissolved. Above, the stars burn slowly, indifferent yet constant. Below, the earth holds every story ever lived. The past is not gone, it only sleeps, and tonight it dreams softly through you. The everyday of the Ottoman. The Everyday of the Ottoman, extended sleep version, approximately 1,300 words. Morning rises with patience over the wide stretch of Istanbul. The first light is pale, almost hesitant, touching the tops of domes and tiled roofs before slipping into the narrow streets below. Smoke rises in thin, uncertain threads from chimneys made of stone and clay. The scent that follows is soft, a blend of bread, damp earth, and olive oil warming on small fires. The air holds it close, as though unwilling to let it go. Inside a modest home, a man stirs from sleep. The room is dim, the floor cool beneath his feet. He reaches for his sandals, worn smooth by years of use, and ties them without hurry. His wife is already awake, her hands deep in a bowl of dough. She moves with the quiet rhythm of someone who has done the same thing every morning for as long as she can remember. The walls of the house are simple, clay and straw mixed together, strong enough to hold in warmth. A pot simmers gently near the small stove, the fire whispering rather than crackling. Beyond their home, the city begins to wake. Doors creak open. Water splashes from wells. The sound of hooves and wooden wheels marks the start of another day. From somewhere in the direction of the palace, a drum begins to beat, low, steady, and deliberate. Its sound rolls through the city like a slow tide. Every household hears it, and every heart adjusts its rhythm to match. The empire is vast, yet here it feels close, intimate, and heavy. The same sun rises over deserts, mountains, and plains hundreds of miles away, and still the city beats as one. Soldiers march at the edge of the morning, their boots striking the cobblestones in soft unison. Merchants lift the wooden shutters of their shops and arrange baskets of figs, grain, and cloth. The calls of traders blend with the laughter of children and the barking of stray dogs. The city is alive but unhurried. Its movements are steady, practiced, and familiar. Near the marketplace, the smell of roasting beans drifts from a coffee stall. The drink is dark, bitter, and new to the empire, a curiosity brought from distant lands. Men gather around, sipping quietly, speaking in low voices. Conversations flow like the steam rising from their cups, slow, uncertain, and thoughtful. No one laughs loudly here. In the Ottoman city, calm is safety. To be unnoticed is to survive. As the sun climbs higher, the noise of the city deepens. In workshops, the rhythmic tap of hammers begins. Metal meets metal, wood meets blade. The cobblers, the tailors, the potters, each at their place, each repeating motions learned long ago. A boy carries a basket of bread through the crowd, his bare feet quick against the dust. A woman pauses to buy fruit, her coins cool and heavy in her palm. The air hums with a soft kind of purpose. Far above the city, in the upper chambers of the palace, everything is slower. Curtains shift gently in the breeze. Courtyards glisten with dew. Servants walk in silence through corridors of marble. Their steps are light, their eyes lowered. They know the weight of sound here. Beyond carved doors, men in fine robes gather in council. They speak carefully, their words measured and precise. Outside those walls, the empire moves because of them. Yet they too are bound by the same still rhythm that governs everything. The Sultan himself is rarely seen. His presence fills the air even when he is absent. His word is the quiet current that shapes the entire city. No one questions it. No one resists. Power here does not shout. It breathes slow and steady like the wind that moves over the Bosphorus. By midday, the streets shimmer with heat. Fabrics flutter from balconies. Donkeys rest in the shade, their tails flicking at flies. the scent of spice and sweat hangs in the air. A boy splashes water over the cobblestones to cool the dust. Nearby, a woman sells bowls of lentil stew, the steam rising in lazy curls. People eat standing, then return to their work. Life here is practical, persistent, and unbroken by luxury. As the afternoon drifts toward dusk, the tone of the city changes. The merchants begin to close their stalls. The soldiers return to their quarters. The noise softens into a steady murmur, the pulse of a city that never truly sleeps, but always rests. The drum that marked the morning now sounds again, slower this time, echoing off the walls like a heartbeat fading into stillness. Inside a small home, the same man from morning sits beside the fire. His sandals rest by the door. His wife stirs a pot of soup, lentils, onions, and a trace of salt. The smell is simple, but it fills the air with warmth. Outside, neighbors talk in low voices. A child laughs, a dog barks once and then lies down. The sounds weave together, soft and familiar, like threads in cloth. In another part of the city, a scribe leans over parchment by candlelight. The ink moves slowly beneath his hand, shaping the words that will become law, record, or memory. His fingers are stained black, his eyes calm. He does not know the faces of those who will one day read his work. He only knows that this, too, is part of the rhythm, the endless act of marking time. Night settles again over the domes and towers. The air cools, carrying the scent of the sea. Lamps flicker to life in courtyards and windows, each one a small island of light. The city sighs, its energy spent but not exhausted. Above it all, the moon rises over the water, pale and full, the same moon that has looked down on every generation before. The empire sleeps now. Soldiers in barracks, merchants in beds, the Sultan in his chamber, surrounded by silence. Yet even in rest, the city breathes. The fires burn low, the wind moves through open shutters, the river glints beneath the stars. There is no grandeur in this night, no triumph, no fall. Only continuation. The long, unbroken motion of life repeating itself, century after century. The people who wake tomorrow will do the same things in the same order, under the same sky. The sound of the drum will call them again, and they will rise. For them, the empire is not a story or a symbol. It is the shape of their days, the steady beat of their hours, the texture of their breath. To live here is to be part of something vast and quiet, a rhythm that neither quickens nor fades. It is life itself, lived without question, carried by time like a leaf on slow water. And so the night deepens once more over Istanbul. The stars lean close, the city grows still, and somewhere in the distance, a final echo of the drum fades into silence. The air rests, the world exhales, the empire continues, not in glory, but in calm. The quiet weight of power, extended sleep version. The morning inside the palace begins not with sound, but with movement, the soft rustle of silk, the faint glide of slippers over marble. Light filters through high windows in thin golden lines, resting on tiled floors and carved pillars. The air is cool, touched with the scent of polished wood and faint traces of rosewater. No voice rises above a whisper. Here, silence is not emptiness. It is order. It is law. Servants move like shadows through long corridors. They do not hurry, yet every step has purpose. Their gestures are small and deliberate, a curtain drawn aside, a bowl placed upon a tray, a candle trimmed to keep its flame steady. Each action is repeated exactly as it has been for generations, each motion a quiet promise to keep the rhythm of the palace intact. In this place, perfection is not demanded. It is assumed. The walls themselves seem to listen. At the heart of the complex lies the chamber of the ruler. Its doors are carved with patterns that tell no stories, only symmetry, a language of control. Behind them, the Sultan sits in stillness. The room around him is wide and dim, built not for comfort, but for gravity. The silence here has its own weight. It presses gently upon the air, reminding all who enter that their words must be chosen carefully and their breath measured. Advisors stand at a respectful distance, their robes brushing the polished floor. They do not speak until spoken to, and even then, their voices are low, their tones steady. Decisions are made in this calm, not through argument, but through understanding. The ruler listens. He nods once, perhaps twice, and that is enough. A gesture of the hand becomes a command that will ripple through the entire empire. Outside these walls, the city bends quietly to the shape of those unseen choices. Merchants open their stalls unaware that a new tax decree has been signed. Farmers in the countryside will soon feel its reach in their harvest, though they will never hear the words that created it. Power travels invisibly here, not shouted, not displayed, but carried like a breath from one mouth to another until it reaches every distant corner. In the courtyards, fountains spill water into wide stone basins. The sound is gentle, constant, soothing. Birds gather along the edges, dipping their beaks before taking flight again over the tiled roofs. A young servant sweeps the path nearby, careful not to disturb the harmony. Even labor here must appear graceful. It is not the strength of the act that matters, but the silence surrounding it. Beyond the inner walls, scribes sit in shaded alcoves, their brushes gliding across parchment. They copy decrees in elegant calligraphy, each letter balanced and exact. Their task is quiet but monumental: to turn a few soft words into the machinery of empire. When they finish, the scrolls are sealed with wax and carried away by messengers who move swiftly through the gates, their steps echoing briefly before vanishing into the city's noise. And the city itself, vast, restless, alive, obeys without ever being told why. In the markets, gold changes hands. On the docks, ships are loaded with grain, oil, and spices. The clatter of crates and ropes fills the air. Taxes are collected, weighed, recorded, yet no one sees the faces of those who decide how much to take, or when. The merchants feel it in the tightening of their purses. The farmers feel it in the thinning of their stores. Power here is not seen. It is sensed, like the humidity before a storm or the faint pull of the tide. In the palace, the ruler rises from his seat. The hem of his robe brushes the floor. Attendants follow at a measured distance, their heads bowed. He moves through a garden enclosed by marble walls. The air smells of fig leaves and dust. Water channels weave between small trees, guiding the reflection of light like silver threads. The Sultan pauses beside one of the pools, looking into the surface. The reflection that stares back is calm, unreadable. A breeze passes, and the image breaks into ripples. This is the quiet weight of power, not the roar of victory, but the discipline of stillness. To hold control is to move slowly, to speak rarely, to let others feel the pressure of your silence. Those who live within this system learn to listen more than they talk. The servant who pours water must understand the unspoken mood of the room. The scribe who records orders must sense which words are to be emphasized and which to let fade. Every person, from the lowest attendant to the highest minister, moves within an invisible web of awareness. In the women's quarters, voices are lower still. The rustle of fabric and the tapping of looms replace conversation. The world beyond the walls reaches them only through whispers, carried by messengers who do not linger. Yet even here, In the still heart of the palace, power drifts, subtle, fluid, untraceable. A letter delivered at dusk can shift alliances. A single look exchanged during a meal can alter the fate of a courtier. As the afternoon deepens, the palace cools. Shadows lengthen along the floors. The scent of jasmine drifts through open doors. Somewhere in the distance, the drum that marked the morning sounds again. Slower now, more resonant. Servants pause, listening for a moment, then continue their quiet work. The sound passes through every hall, reminding all within that time itself obeys the same rule as they do. Calm, steady, relentless. Outside, the empire stretches beyond the horizon. Deserts, mountains, rivers, cities, all tied together by the delicate thread of command. Messages ride for days across the land, carried by horsemen who do not rest. In distant provinces, governors wait for word. Their courtyards mirror the palace in miniature, their silence a reflection of the center's discipline. The same calm prevails everywhere, not peace, but balance. As dusk approaches, the Sultan returns to his chamber. The day has been filled with choices, though none appear large. Each one, however, shifts the current of thousands of lives. He sits once more in the half-light, his face turned toward the window. Outside, the city glows with the first lights of evening. Tiny fires, lanterns and oil lamps flickering like a constellation below. The hum of the streets reaches him faintly, a reminder of the endless motion beneath his stillness. The attendants bring a tray of food, rice, lentils, dried fruit, a small dish of honey. He eats in silence, each bite slow and measured. Around him, the room breathes with the soft sounds of night, the rustle of fabric, the quiet drip of water from a nearby fountain, the sigh of wind against stone. The world beyond the palace could be at war or at rest, and it would make no difference here. When the final lamp is dimmed, the halls fall into shadow. The guards outside change their watch. Somewhere in the distance, a night bird calls. Power does not sleep. It merely grows still. In this vast, layered quiet, the empire holds itself together, not through fear or noise, but through discipline and patience. Every stone, every breath, every gesture exists to preserve the calm. The night moves softly through the palace, touching the walls, the pools, the gardens. Moonlight slides over the marble like a slow wave. Servants rest in corners, heads bowed, eyes closed. And within the deepest chamber, the ruler sits once more in reflection. No crown gleams, no voice commands. Only the slow rhythm of breath fills the dark. The empire endures, not in noise or conquest, but in stillness, vast and absolute. The streets of common life. The city exhales as the afternoon fades. Its sounds deepen, no longer sharp or hurried, but slow, softened by dust and distance. Wooden wheels roll through the narrow lanes, their rims creaking against the cobblestones. The hooves of donkeys strike the earth in even rhythm, steady and resigned. From somewhere beyond the market, a vendor calls out, not loudly, but enough for the sound to linger between walls of plaster and stone. The air carries the faint echo of his voice, mingling with the scents that define the city: spice, smoke, fruit, and sun-warmed clay. The streets are narrow here, curved like old memories. Between the houses, shadows gather early, blending into the smell of evening. Doors are open but private. Within them, the outlines of daily life unfold quietly. A woman leans over a basin, washing clothes with slow movements. A child watches, tracing patterns in the dust with a stick. From another doorway, laughter spills out. Short, gentle, soon fading into the hum of the street. Children run barefoot through courtyards. their steps light, their shouts untroubled. They weave between the legs of animals tied to posts, their small bodies glowing with the last color of day. The older ones carry baskets, collecting scraps of wood for the fire or herbs from the corners of the garden walls. They know their tasks without being told. In this world, routine is a form of inheritance. Every gesture has been learned through repetition, passed down like a song with no written words. In small workshops, the last work of the day continues. A blacksmith wipes his brow, the glow of his forge softening as he quenches the final piece of metal. The hiss of steam fades into silence. Next door, a weaver folds the length of cloth he has spent the day completing. He runs his fingers over its surface, feeling the rough pattern beneath his skin. The cloth will travel far, perhaps to another city, perhaps to another life. But for him, it ends here, in the quiet satisfaction of completion. The smell of evening thickens. In the alleys, women carry trays covered with cloth. Bread still warm, olives glistening in oil, small bowls of lentils. The food is simple, unadorned, but it carries the comfort of familiarity. Families gather in dim rooms where oil lamps cast trembling circles of light on the walls. Shadows move slowly across faces, softening the lines of age and labor. Conversation drifts like smoke, a murmur of stories repeated, of small complaints, of gentle laughter that fades before it rises. Outside, a man sits alone near his doorway, turning a wooden cup in his hands. He drinks slowly, the dark liquid inside leaving a bitter taste that soothes rather than stirs. Around him, the street quiets. The day has folded itself away layer by layer until only the faint rhythm of life remains. Somewhere nearby, a dog barks once, then lies down. The city feels older at night, as though it remembers too much. Along the main street, lanterns begin to appear. Each one burns with a small, unsteady flame. The wind brushes through them, bending the light but never extinguishing it. Merchants close their stalls, securing bolts of fabric and jars of grain with practiced care. Coins clink softly into wooden boxes. Nothing is wasted, not even sound. A boy sweeps dust from the threshold of a spice shop, and the scent of cinnamon and cardamom rises around him, sweet and faintly warm. The city, seen from above, would seem almost still, a maze of rooftops catching the moonlight, threads of smoke curling into the sky. Yet within those quiet spaces, life moves. A mother hums a tune to her child. A group of men share a game of dice in an empty square. An old woman sits near a window, her fingers mending fabric that has already lived many years. Every corner holds a story, though none are written down. The air cools as night deepens. The sea breeze, faint but constant, slides through the narrow streets and over the tiled roofs. It carries the salt of distant water, the scent of faraway lands. The people of the city do not look up to find its source. They have lived too long beside the same rhythm, the wind, the dust, the hum of trade, to be surprised by its presence. Somewhere beyond the walls, the river glimmers under the moon. A fisherman draws his net in silence. The water catches the light in brief flashes like whispers of another world. He does not speak. The city behind him is vast, but the night belongs to him alone. Wide, cool, unhurried. Back within the streets, the last of the carts returns from the outer roads. The wheels groan, and the horses snort softly in the dark. The driver guides them through alleys that seem too narrow to pass, yet he knows every turn by instinct. The lamps in the houses flicker as he passes, his shadows sliding across walls like a memory passing through time. At the edge of the market, a group of porters rest against stacked crates. Their voices are low, their laughter restrained. They talk not of dreams, but of weather, prices, and sleep. When one yawns, the others smile faintly as though reminded of something they once knew. Soon they will rise, walk home, and begin again at dawn. In a courtyard near the center of the city, a fountain murmurs. The water has run for years, its sound never changing, though the faces that listen to it always do. Around it, the stones are smooth from the touch of countless hands. A young girl leans over its edge, watching her reflection tremble in the rippling surface. For a moment, the image is clear. Her eyes, her hair, the outline of her small smile. Then the water moves, and she disappears into its motion. Night grows heavier, but not cold. The lamps burn lower, windows close one by one. Even the animals grow still. A cat curls beneath a bench. A bird tucks its head beneath a wing. The city's noise has become a hum, deep and steady, the sound of rest more than silence. From somewhere beyond the rooftops, the moon rises higher. It casts its light evenly without favor, over the palace domes, over the markets, over the smallest home. Its pale glow seeps through shutters and onto sleeping faces. It touches the stone walls, the empty courtyards, the slow river. The world seems held together by its calm. In one small room, a man stirs from half-sleep. The oil lamp beside him flickers, and for a moment he watches the flame move. His wife breathes softly beside him. Their children sleep on mats at their feet. He listens. To the faint sound of the wind, to the whisper of water in the distance, to the heartbeat of a city that never stops. He closes his eyes again, his breath blending with the rhythm of it all. This is not the grandeur of empires or the noise of war. It is something quieter, more enduring, the persistence of ordinary life. Bread baked, water drawn, hands working, hearts resting. The empire may rise and fall beyond these streets, but here time has its own measure. The day ends not with an ending, but with a continuation, a single long breath drawn by the world itself. And so, as the moonlight spreads across the rooftops, the city settles deeper into its rest. The walls hold their warmth, the air grows still, and the streets empty of footsteps. Tomorrow will come, and the rhythm will begin again. The carts, the voices, the scent of bread and oil, the faint sound of laughter fading into the distance. The world does not change here. It only breathes, slowly, steadily, forever. The forgotten cleanliness of the Middle Ages. The morning begins before the sun has fully risen, in a world still wrapped in mist and the smell of damp earth. The first sound is soft, the scrape of wood against stone, the steady rhythm of a broom sweeping dust from a doorway. The streets are narrow, the walls close together, the roofs low and uneven. Smoke drifts from chimneys made of clay and straw, rising slowly into the pale light. Somewhere, a well creaks as a rope turns against wood, pulling up a bucket of water cold and clear. The sound echoes faintly through the maze of alleys, mixing with the low murmur of voices and the quiet clatter of tools beginning their day. Here, cleanliness is not luxury but routine, an act of endurance rather than comfort. The people who live in these towns know that dirt returns as quickly as it leaves, that dust gathers again, that the air will never be entirely free of smoke or smell. Yet they sweep, they wash, they tidy. Every gesture is small, but it carries meaning, a way of maintaining order against the slow weight of time. The streets twist unpredictably, shaped by generations rather than plans. Between the houses run narrow gutters where water flows, clear in the morning, dark by evening. Children step over them lightly, carrying bundles of wood or clay jugs filled at the well. Doors stand open to let in the early air. Inside, the rooms are dim but warm, lit by the thin flame of a tallow candle. The scent of straw, soot, and dried herbs lingers in every corner. Women move quietly through their work. They pour water into basins, rub linen against smooth stones, hang it over wooden frames to dry. The motion is slow, deliberate. The water that spills to the ground makes small, dark circles in the dirt. Steam rises from buckets placed near the hearth. A pot of broth simmers beside them, its surface trembling with tiny ripples. Life here is built from repetition, sweeping, washing, mending, tending the fire. It is not grand, but it is constant. And in that constancy, there is peace. In the larger houses, those built of stone and wood rather than clay, cleanliness takes on another form. Narrow channels carved into the floor carry water from room to room. Some of them end in simple drains that lead to the river, others into small gardens where the runoff feeds herbs and flowers. The sound of trickling water is a comfort, a reminder that the world outside is still moving. In a hall near the edge of town, a group of workers clean the floors, pouring buckets of water and brushing the surface with bundles of reeds. The scent that rises is cool and mineral, like rain on stone. The people here have learned to make the best of what they have. They hang bundles of dried lavender or mint from the beams, believing the air will stay fresher that way. They burn small pieces of juniper in clay bowls, the smoke drifting in lazy spirals through the room. It masks the strongest smells of life: sweat, earth, animal, wood, blending them into something familiar. To them, this is not unpleasant. It is the scent of home. By midday, the streets are alive. The noise of carts grows louder, wheels rolling over uneven stones. Horses pass by, their hooves striking sparks in the dry places. Merchants shout softly to one another, selling bread, cheese, vegetables, and small pieces of cloth. Beneath their feet, the ground is never truly clean, but no one expects it to be. It is simply alive, full of movement, trade, and the dust of the day. At the edge of the town stands a building where water gathers, a bathhouse for those who can afford the time to visit. It is not grand, but it is calm. Inside, the air is heavy with warmth and moisture. The walls are lined with stone benches, and in the center, a pool reflects the dim light from small openings above. Men and women take turns using it, washing with cloths and buckets, scrubbing the dirt from their skin. For a few moments, the world outside, the fields, the noise, the endless work, disappears. The water carries their thoughts away. Those who cannot go there make do with less. A wooden basin in the corner of a home, a cup of water poured over hands and face before a meal, a rinse at the riverbank when the day is done. Cleanliness is not a matter of appearance, but of balance, a way of keeping the body in rhythm with the world. It is understood almost instinctively that when things are swept, washed, and tended, life feels lighter. As the afternoon fades, the light softens into gold. Dust floats in the air, catching the sun in slow, glittering motion. The sound of sweeping begins again, in courtyards, before doorways, along the narrow roads leading out of town. The broom bristles move in quiet rhythm, a sound as constant as breath. Water is poured once more over the stone thresholds. The town exhales, cooling with the approach of evening. Inside the homes, people prepare for the night. Cloths are folded, shutters closed, fires banked. A woman wipes a wooden table clean with a damp rag, then sets down a small loaf of bread and a bowl of soup. A man removes his boots, shaking loose the dust of the road. A child leans against the wall, watching the flicker of light on the ceiling. Outside, the air begins to change, the smell of smoke growing softer, the wind carrying the faint sweetness of hay. The streets, once busy, now quiet. The carts have stopped moving. The merchants have packed away their goods. Only the faint sound of footsteps remains. A late traveller, a watchman, the distant call of someone saying good night. The city's rhythm slows to a heartbeat. The wells stand still, the buckets empty beside them. From the hills, the last light fades. The rooftops catch it for a moment, a glow along the edges, then darkness. The lamps inside the houses burn low, their light trembling in the draughts that slip through the cracks. Shadows stretch long across the walls. The world feels smaller now, contained within the scent of smoke and the quiet hum of rest. As night settles, a deep calm fills the air. The day's work has left its trace on everything, on the walls, the floors, the people themselves. But even in the weariness, there is a kind of purity, born not from absence of dirt, but from the effort of care. The people have done what they can. The rest belongs to time. In the distance, the faint trickle of water continues, through the channels, down to the river, out into the dark. It is the same sound that has filled these nights for generations. It is the town's quiet thought, its slow, steady breath. Inside, the last shutters close, the brooms lean against the walls, the candles fade, one by one. And in the stillness that follows, the memory of movement lingers. The sweep of a hand, the pour of water, the soft sound of cloth against stone. The world holds its calm, wrapped in the faint scent of herbs and smoke, waiting for another morning to begin. The workers of the night. Beneath the quiet surface of the city, where the sound of footsteps fades and the air grows thick with earth and stone, a small group of men descend into the dark. They carry lanterns, their light trembling against the damp walls. The wooden handles of their shovels rest across their shoulders, polished by years of use. Their faces are calm, their movements unhurried. They have done this so many nights that the darkness feels almost like a companion, familiar, constant, alive in its own slow way. The entrance is narrow, a passage of stone leading downward in a gradual spiral. The walls glisten faintly, wet from the breath of the underground. The men step carefully, boots sinking slightly into the soft mud beneath them. The sound they make is steady, a low rhythm of shuffling, scraping and dripping water. It echoes through the tunnels like a quiet pulse, measured and patient. Above them, the city dreams. Below, the earth stirs gently with every movement they make. Their work is simple in description, but endless in effort. They clear the channels that carry the city's waste away, shovel the mud that gathers in the corners, and strengthen the supports that hold the passage upright. Each task repeats itself with the rhythm of breathing. The air is heavy, filled with the scent of damp wood and the faint tang of metal. Sometimes they pause, raising their lanterns to study a section of wall, searching for cracks, listening for the whisper of water behind the stone. The silence that follows is not empty. It hums with the quiet presence of the underground world around them. One man kneels, scraping debris from the edge of a drain. His hands are calloused, his fingers stained dark. He hums under his breath, a sound so soft it could be mistaken for wind. Another lifts a bucket and empties it into a waiting cart. The metal creaks, then stills. They do not speak much. Words have little use here. The rhythm of work has its own language, built from small gestures and shared understanding. Lantern light flickers across the walls, revealing marks from generations before, initials carved into stone, lines drawn to mark the height of floods long past. These tunnels are older than any of the men who walked them. Some sections have been rebuilt, others remain untouched, shaped by hands that no one remembers. The workers move through them as if through memory itself, following paths laid down centuries ago. From time to time, they rest. They sit on overturned buckets or lean against the walls, their breath steady and slow. The sound of dripping water fills the space between them. The lanterns cast circles of gold that fade into the deep black beyond. In that silence, the world feels reduced to its essentials: stone, breath, heartbeat, and light. When they rise again, the work continues with the same quiet persistence. The shovels scrape, the carts roll, the footsteps move forward. Above them, unseen, the streets remain clean and dry. People walk through the markets and along the roads, unaware of the hands that keep their world in motion. These men belong to the city's hidden rhythm, its slow, steady maintenance, its silent heartbeat that never ceases. Sometimes they find things buried in the mud, a broken coin, a piece of pottery, the remains of something once useful. They turn the objects in their hands for a moment, studying them in the lamplight, then set them aside. The earth remembers everything. It holds every story in fragments. The discarded, the forgotten, the left behind. And in this quiet labor, the men become part of that same story, preserved not in words, but in the steady mark of their work. The air grows colder as the night deepens. The flame of each lantern wavers slightly, bending with the movement of unseen currents. Above them, rain begins to fall, its sound distant but clear. The tunnels react. A faint trickle of water appears, threading its way along the floor. The men adjust, redirecting it into the proper channels, guiding it with their tools. It is a small act, invisible to the city above, yet essential. Outside, roofs glisten and streets darken under the rain. Families sleep in warm rooms. Children breathe evenly. Merchants dream of trade. None of them will ever think of the men below, who ensure the rainwater finds its way out of the city, who prevent the streets from flooding, who keep the unseen systems alive. The workers ask for nothing more. Their reward is the rhythm itself, the calm repetition, the soft hum of purpose that carries through the long hours. At times, when the air grows too still, they pause and listen. The city above can sometimes be heard, the faint echo of a cart rolling over cobblestones, the bark of a distant dog, the murmur of wind between rooftops. These sounds reach them like memories from another world. Then, as quickly as they came, they fade again, replaced by the deeper silence of the earth. Their work continues until the first pale light of dawn begins to seep through the cracks and vents. It does not reach them directly, but they feel its change. A slight warmth in the air, a subtle shift in sound. The city above begins to wake and the tunnels grow still again. The workers gather their tools, wiping mud from the handles, adjusting their lamps. They walk back the way they came, their shadows stretching behind them along the walls. The climb upward is slow but steady. Each step brings fresher air, each turn brighter light. When they finally emerge, the city is quiet. The streets damp, the sky faintly gold. They blink against the morning, their faces drawn but calm. The smell of bread from the bakeries drifts through the air, mingling with the scent of wet stone. They nod to one another without words and part ways, disappearing into the alleys that lead to their homes. Soon, the surface world will awaken completely. Stalls will open, doors will creak, and the hum of life will fill the air once more. No one will notice the men who pass by, their clothes still marked with traces of earth. No one will know that while the city slept, another world beneath it labored quietly to keep everything above it alive. In the tunnels below, the last drops of water fall from the ceiling into shallow pools. The lanterns are gone now, but the faint warmth of their flames lingers for a while on the damp walls. The air settles. The silence returns. The workers of the night are forgotten as the day begins, but their work remains. It holds the city together, unseen yet vital. Their rhythm echoes through the streets, though no one hears it. A soft, patient pulse beneath the noise of morning. And as the sun rises higher, washing the rooftops in gold, the underground world drifts into rest. The men sleep now, their dreams filled with the same steady rhythm that guided their hands through the darkness. The sound of water moving through stone, the breath of the earth, the slow persistence of quiet purpose. In their absence, the tunnels breathe on. The city above moves in its endless cycle of waking and sleeping, unaware that its calm depends on the invisible. The workers will return again when night falls, carrying their lanterns, their shovels, and their silence. And once more, beneath the sleeping world, they will begin again. The guardians of the unseen, the keepers of the dark, the steady hands that make morning possible. The taste of the Bronze Age. Before the rise of cities, before the drawing of borders, the world was wide and open. The earth smelled of rain and smoke, of wild grass and distant fire. People lived close to the ground then, their homes made of reed and clay, their walls thin enough for wind and sound to pass through. The night stretched endlessly, black and calm, broken only by the glow of firelight that gathered in small circles across the plains. It was around these quiet fires that humanity first learned to wait, to watch, and to share. In the center of each circle, a clay pot simmered. Inside it, grains and water mixed with honey and air, the slow, accidental beginning of something that would change how people felt the world. The liquid bubbled faintly, its surface alive with small bursts of foam. The smell that rose was strange, sweet, earthy, alive. They did not yet have words for it, but they knew it was good. It warmed the chest, softened the breath, and carried with it a calm that felt like memory. They drank not to escape, but to belong. Around the fires they sat close, their faces flickering between light and shadow. The glow caught the lines of their cheeks, the curve of their lips, the reflection in their eyes. Smoke drifted slowly above them, carrying sparks into the open dark. The night itself seemed to listen. No one spoke much. The air did not need words. The sound of the crackling fire, the quiet clink of clay, and the slow rhythm of breathing were enough to fill the space. The drink was crude by later standards, thick, uneven, tasting of earth and sweetness mixed together. But it was something new. It gave warmth where the wind was cold. It made laughter softer, silences longer, and hunger easier to bear. It became part of their gatherings, part of their rhythm. Each time they lifted the pot to their lips, they were not only tasting grain and honey, they were tasting the shape of time, the patience of the world turning beneath them. The land around them was vast and untouched. Forests stretched far beyond the horizon. Rivers curved through valleys, their surfaces silver beneath the moon. Herds moved across the plains, their steps distant and thunderous. The people who lived here did not yet call themselves tribes or nations. They were simply together, bound by the act of surviving, by the fire, and by the slow discovery that life shared was gentler than life alone. As days passed, and seasons changed, the making of the drink became an art. They learned which grains made it stronger, which pots held the right warmth, which fires burned too fast. The mixture of water, air, and patience became a kind of ritual. Some watched the bubbles rise and spoke of spirits waking in the liquid. Others believed it was the earth itself breathing through the grain. Whatever the truth, they all knew that what they created was more than nourishment. It was connection. The process was slow, and that slowness mattered. Nothing could be rushed. The fermentation happened in silence, guided only by time and temperature. The people waited, trusting the unseen change within the pot. When it was ready, they gathered again, the first sip marking another small miracle. The transformation of the ordinary into something that felt alive. By the edge of the fire, the elders would sit quietly, their eyes reflecting the flames. They had seen many seasons and understood that patience was the oldest wisdom. Around them, children played in the shadows, laughing softly. The younger men and women worked nearby, tending the fires, preparing food, shaping tools. All the while, the scent of the fermenting grain filled the air. Warm, comforting, and familiar. As night deepened, the fire burned lower. The world beyond the circle disappeared into darkness. The stars above were sharp and endless, the sky stretching like a vast sea of silence. One by one, the people fell quiet, listening to the low hum of insects, the whisper of grass moving in the wind, the heartbeat of the earth beneath them. The drink passed from hand to hand, each sip a gesture of belonging, each swallow a small ceremony. They did not yet know of gods or kings, of empires or wars. Their rituals were simple but sacred in their own way. To share warmth, to share food, to share silence. These were acts of meaning. In the slow rhythm of these nights, humanity learned the first language of community, the sound of presence. In the morning, the world would continue. The sun would rise over the plains, turning mist into gold. Smoke would drift upward from the ashes of the fires. The people would wake, stretch, and begin again, gathering grain, shaping clay, cutting reeds. Life was steady, repetitive, and kind in its simplicity. But the memory of the night would linger. The glow of the flames, the taste of honeyed grain, the calm that came from being together. In time, this small act, mixing grain, water, and patience, would spread. Villages would learn from one another. Travelers would carry the recipe across valleys and mountains. Each place would give it a new name, a new flavor, a new ritual. But the essence remained the same, the earth transformed through human hands into something that soothed the heart. In distant lands, as centuries passed, the same firelight would flicker over different faces. People would gather again, as they always had, lifting cups of their own making. Bronze tools would replace stone, villages would grow into towns, and still the habit remained. The slow, deliberate act of drinking together, of pausing the endless motion of life to feel time rest for a while. The taste changed, but the meaning did not. It was never truly about the drink itself. It was about the silence it created, the way it softened the edges of thought, the way it turned strangers into kin. Each shared sip was a promise that no one was alone, that the fire would always be lit again, that warmth could be made even in the coldest places. As the last embers of the fire glowed in the dark, one could almost hear the beginning of the future in their faint crackle, the rise of music, of gatherings, of stories told beneath roofs instead of stars. But for now, the night remained simple. A few sparks drifted into the sky, fading before they reached the stars. The people leaned closer to the dying light, their bodies wrapped in the calm of the moment. The world was still young then, but already it carried the memory of connection, of the first shared drink, the first slow laughter, the first understanding that time, like fermentation, could not be hurried. It had to unfold gently in its own rhythm. And so they sat together until the fire burned to ash. The wind moved softly across the fields, carrying the faint scent of grain and smoke. The stars dimmed with the coming of dawn. And somewhere in that quiet moment between night and morning, the taste of the Bronze Age, the mixture of earth, patience and belonging, became part of what it meant to be human. The gentle feast. The feast was never meant to be grand. There were no carved tables, no banners or music, no lines of servants carrying polished plates. It began in stillness, under an open sky that deepened into blue and then to black. A small fire burned at the center of a circle, its light flickering across faces lined by the sun and softened by the night. Around it, the people gathered slowly, drawn not by command, but by quiet habit. The ancient rhythm of sharing warmth and food before the dark took full hold. The air smelled of barley and smoke. From clay cups they drank the soft, fermented liquid that had become a companion to their evenings. It tasted of earth and time, faintly sweet, faintly bitter, always alive. Each sip carried the warmth of hands that had ground the grain, fetched the water, tended the fire. The act of drinking was as much memory as sustenance. When one finished, the cup was passed on to another, never kept, never claimed. They ate what the season allowed, roots pulled from the ground, dried fruit softened over the flame, handfuls of grain cooked into a coarse mash. The flavors were simple, unhurried. No one measured or divided. They took what was offered and gave what they could. In that small exchange, there was equality, even if they did not name it as such. The sound of the fire filled the spaces between their words. It cracked, breathed, and shifted, feeding on the dry wood they had gathered through the day. The smoke rose in slow spirals, carrying with it the scent of the meal and the faint sweetness of resin. Above them, the stars gathered in quiet brightness, each one reflected in the dark curve of the clay bowls that lay empty at their feet. Around the circle, voices rose and fell like the tide. They spoke softly, not to teach or command, but to remember. Someone told of a hunt from the past season. Another spoke of a storm that had bent the trees near the river. The words were not grand or important, but they carried the rhythm of life. Small events that bound the group together. The youngest listened with half-closed eyes, the sound of the stories washing over them like wind through grass. When no one had anything more to say, the silence returned naturally. It was not uncomfortable. It was a part of the gathering, as essential as the fire or the food. The silence was where thought rested and breath found its place again. It was in this stillness, perhaps without realizing it, that they created something lasting. The beginnings of ceremony, of time measured by gathering and dispersing, of meaning born not from power, but from presence. The night stretched wide around them, the air cooled and thickened. Beyond the light of the fire, the shapes of trees and hills dissolved into darkness. An owl called once, and the sound lingered before fading into the distance. Sparks drifted upward from the fire, small and golden, rising like tiny prayers no one spoke aloud. The people watched them until they vanished among the stars. A child yawned and leaned against a parent's shoulder. Someone added another branch to the flames. The light flared, revealing faces made gentle by weariness. Hands reached out to stir the coals, to adjust a pot, to pass another cup. These movements were not commands but gestures of care, small and wordless. The feast was not about abundance, it was about continuation, about the simple act of being together beneath the same sky. They had no temples, no altars, no written words. Their rituals were shaped by what was necessary. Fire for warmth, food for the body, silence for the mind. Yet in their gathering, they unknowingly touched the beginnings of things that would one day become sacred. The circle, the sharing, the fire, these would endure, carried forward through centuries, changed in form, but not in spirit. As the night deepened, the fire settled into embers. The light grew dimmer, softer, red instead of gold. The people moved closer to its warmth. Some rested their heads on folded arms, their eyes drifting shut. Others sat upright, gazing at the last slow flicker of flame. A soft murmur passed through the group, a song without words, more breath than melody. It rose and fell with the crackle of the fire, blending into the sound of the night. Above them, the stars turned in their quiet procession. The air carried the faint scent of rain far away. The land was vast and patient, stretching beyond the limits of what they could see. And yet here, in this small clearing, everything that mattered was present. Warmth, food, light, and company. It was enough. The embers shifted and sighed. One by one, people rose and walked a few steps away to sleep. Some lay on woven mats, others directly on the ground, wrapped in rough cloth. The last to stay awake were the firekeepers, 2 or 3 who fed the final branches into the glow, watching the coals until they sank into ash. Their task was quiet, more meditation than duty. When the fire could no longer burn, they covered it with sand and sat in the faint warmth that remained. The world above them continued its slow motion. Clouds crossing the moon, the whisper of wind in dry grass, the distant movement of water. Time had no urgency here. It expanded with the dark, stretched with the silence, and folded softly around the sleeping camp. Before dawn, the air grew colder. The first light of morning brushed the edges of the sky, turning it a shade of grey-blue. A faint mist rose from the earth. Birds began to call from unseen branches. The fire pit was now only a dark hollow, a memory of warmth. Yet even in its absence, the people felt its echo, the calm that lingers after shared presence, the invisible thread that ties one life to another. They would rise soon, gather what they had, and continue their journey across the land. But for this brief space of night, they had belonged to something larger, to the quiet rhythm of the earth, to the company of others, to the comfort of being part of a circle rather than standing alone. Later ages would forget their names, their songs, even their food, but the essence of their gathering would survive in festivals and banquets, in small family meals, in the clinking of cups across centuries. The simple act of eating together would remain one of the most human gestures of all, a pause in the flow of time to remember that life, at its heart, is meant to be shared. And so the gentle feast continued, in memory and in form, long after the fire had gone cold. The circle became a table, the clay cup became glass, the flicker of flame became candlelight. Yet beneath every gathering, in every shared silence, the same ancient truth endured, that warmth found in company is the oldest nourishment, and that the quiet between words is what makes the meal complete. The night of that first feast still lives, somewhere in the rhythm of every evening. It hums softly in the clatter of dishes, in the scent of bread, in the warmth that rises when people sit close. The fire is never entirely gone. It sleeps within us, waiting for the next gathering. the next moment of calm under the endless sky. The Sea of Illyria. Far to the west, beyond the forests and plains, the land meets the water in a sudden rise of stone. The coast is jagged and sharp, the cliffs worn smooth by wind and salt. The sea below is never still. It breathes in long, deliberate waves that roll against the rocks, carving them slowly, endlessly, into new shapes. The air here smells of salt and rain. It moves through the narrow inlets like a voice repeating the same quiet words each day. The people who live along this coast have always known the rhythm of the water. Their homes are small and built from stone, their roofs covered in straw that darkens with sea mist. At dawn, they wake to the sound of the tide, not an alarm, but a calling. The horizon is pale and endless, a line that separates what is known from what can never be certain. Their boats are narrow, built for balance rather than comfort. Each plank is cut by hand, each rope twisted from fiber soaked in seawater. The sails are thin and light, pale against the horizon, glowing faintly when the sun rises. When they set out, there is little talk. The wind is the only companion they need. They read it the way others might read maps or books. A shift in air, a ripple on the surface. These are their signs. The sea gives and takes with equal measure. On some mornings it brings fish so plentiful the nets sag under their weight. On others it turns rough and silent, swallowing the small boats whole. The people do not curse it. They do not pray to it, they simply understand. The sea is not kind or cruel. It is alive like themselves and must be respected. Trade and travel are the same here. A boat leaves one cove carrying wool, wood, or salt, and returns with jars of oil, fabric, or wine. Sometimes it returns empty. Sometimes it does not return at all. The people keep no records of what is lost. They simply build again, patch the nets, mend the sails, and wait for the wind to turn in their favor. From the cliffs above, the sea looks endless, but to those who live beside it, it is a familiar neighbor. Temperamental, powerful, necessary. Children grow up learning its sounds, the whisper of waves against the hull, the moan of ropes in the wind, the distant call of gulls over open water. At night, they fall asleep to its rhythm, the slow rise and fall that matches the beating of their own hearts. In the small harbors, the smell of pitch and salt lingers. Wooden hulls rest half in the water, half on land, waiting for morning. Men move through the fog, carrying tools, adjusting ropes, checking for cracks along the boards. Their movements are quiet, unhurried, as if shaped by the patience of the sea itself. They know that nothing worth keeping comes quickly here. Everything is earned in small, deliberate gestures. When storms roll in, the world changes. The sky lowers, heavy with grey. The waves rise, carrying the sound of thunder in their depths. Doors close, fires are lit. The people wait in silence, listening to the roar beyond the walls. They do not fear it. They have heard it all their lives. When morning returns and the sea calms, they go outside, inspect the boats, and begin again. The rhythm never breaks. Life here is uncertain, but it continues. Each dawn arrives with the same grey light, the same soft wind, the same creak of wood. Nets are cast, sails are raised, and the small figures move out across the water. The sea decides who prospers and who vanishes, and the people accept its choices. At sunset, when the boats return, the air fills with the scent of smoke and fish. Children run to the shore, their laughter mixing with the cries of seabirds. The waves, restless all day, seem to soften. The horizon glows for a brief moment, gold fading to blue, blue fading to night.
Then the fires are lit. The sea continues its breathing, slow and eternal, just beyond the edge of the light. The people sit together, their faces calm, their voices low. They speak of the day, only if there is something worth saying. More often, they sit in silence, listening to the sound that has shaped their lives since before memory began. The sound of the sea, steady and infinite, holding them all within its rhythm.
The drift of empires. The sea fades into mist, and with it, the memory of names. The waves that once carried the ships of conquerors now move without destination, touching the same shores that armies once claimed. The world, once loud with ambition, has grown quiet again. What was built in pride has returned to dust. What was shouted in triumph has dissolved into wind. Every empire believed it would last forever, that its walls would never crumble, that its banners would always rise in the morning light. Yet time, patient and unhurried, knows no loyalty. It moves over everything, softening even the sharpest stones. All that remains are traces, the curve of pottery half buried in the soil, the outline of a road no longer walked, the faint impression of letters carved into weathered stone. The people who made them are gone, their names forgotten, their intentions erased. But their gestures remain. The way hands once shaped clay, the way feet once pressed into the earth, the way breath once rose in cold morning air. These are the echoes of empire, small, human, and eternal in their simplicity. The ruins stand where cities once sang. Pillars tilt beneath the weight of centuries. Vines crawl over broken walls, their green threads stitching the past to the present. In the distance, wind hums through empty arches, a sound too soft to mourn, too constant to ignore. The earth remembers not the rulers, but the rhythm of their labor, the slow laying of stone upon stone, the hum of voices in marketplaces, the quiet songs of those who worked unseen. Somewhere beneath the layers of soil, bronze coins sleep beside shards of painted clay. Once they were exchanged in bustling squares, symbols of trade and power. Now they lie side by side, stripped of meaning, resting in the same calm as the earth that covers them. What was once treasure has become texture. What was once empire has become landscape. The rivers that once marked borders now flow without care for history. Mountains that once divided kingdoms now stand indifferent beneath snow. Even the stars that guided explorers and soldiers continue their slow, unchanged motion, lighting a world that has outlived its maps. Time does not erase, it transforms. It gathers the noise of ages and turns it into a single, long breath. People come and go, empires rise and fall. Each believes it begins something new, yet each follows the same path: expansion, flourish, decline, silence. The pattern is not cruel, it is natural. It mirrors the rhythm of seasons, of tides, of life itself. What begins with fire always ends with ash. What begins with song always ends with rest. And yet there is beauty in what remains. A broken column still catches the light. A fragment of wall still holds the warmth of the sun. A forgotten road still carries the faint trace of footsteps. These remnants do not mourn what has been lost. They simply exist. Proof that even impermanence leaves its mark. In quiet valleys where cities once stood, grass grows tall over buried foundations. Birds nest where banners once hung. The air carries no memory of war, only the steady hum of insects and wind. Nature does not rebuild, it continues. It folds what was once human back into its own slow pulse. Those who walk among the ruins today feel not sorrow, but stillness. The world has reclaimed its breath. The dust beneath their feet is the same dust that that once formed kings and servants alike. All distinctions fade here. Stone, soil, and bone, blending into one calm layer. Every empire becomes this in the end. A whisper beneath the earth, a shadow on a hillside, a name spoken only by the wind. And yet, in that vanishing, there is peace. The noise has gone. The striving has quieted. The world has returned to balance. The rhythm of living becomes the rhythm of forgetting. And in forgetting, something pure remains. Not the glory of conquest, but the stillness that follows it. The same stillness that moves through fields at dawn, that settles over the sea at dusk, that lives in every pause between breaths. The mist thickens. The sea disappears from sight. The land waits in silence, its edges softened by time. Above it all, the sky remains vast, endless, and unchanged, watching, as it always has, the gentle drift of empires towards sleep. The sleep of the world. Night returns softly without announcement. It settles over the land like a long breath released. The air cools, the edges of the world blur, and what was noise becomes distance. The wind moves gently now, weaving through the grass, over the stones, through the open doors of forgotten ruins. It carries the scent of earth and the faint trace of rain, not falling, but remembered. Everything that once stirred has grown still again. The world exhales. The stars above are patient. They look down on what remains. The outlines of cities, the quiet lines of old roads, the scattered bones of walls and towers. Their light touches everything evenly. The highest mountain, the deepest field, the smallest stone. It is the same light that once shone on ships crossing seas, on torches burning in ancient streets, on faces now long gone. It has never hurried, never dimmed. Time changes, but the stars do not. The land below sleeps in fragments. In one place, a river glides past the remnants of a bridge, its surface smooth and dark. In another, a field stretches beneath the moon, silvered by dew. The wind passes over both and moves on, a steady hand brushing across centuries. It does not pause to remember, it simply continues. The ruins no longer hold meaning. They are part of the landscape now, stone and soil joined in quiet agreement. The walls that once echoed with laughter or command now listen only to the hum of insects and the low rustle of leaves. The fires that once signaled triumph have gone out. In their place, moss and shadow have grown. There is no tragedy in this. It is not an ending, only a return. You lie within this stillness, a small part of the same long rhythm. Your breath moves with the wind. Your pulse follows the slow turning of the earth. You are not separate from the past. You are made of it. The dust of what has been, the quiet continuation of what will be. History is not behind you. It surrounds you, flowing like water, soft and endless. Above, the constellations drift. They turn slowly, repeating patterns older than memory. Their movement is measured, gentle, deliberate. The same rhythm that once guided travelers across deserts and oceans, now it guides the closing of your eyes. The stars, like the world itself, ask for nothing. They simply exist, steady and calm, marking the passing of time without sound. The mind loosens its grasp. Thoughts scatter like sand along the shore, each one caught by the tide and carried away. The body softens, sinking into the quiet beneath it. The breath lengthens, deepens, and becomes part of the larger breathing of the world. The slow inhale of the night, the long exhale of the earth, cooling under stars. Far away, waves move across unseen coasts. Forests murmur in their sleep. Somewhere, rain begins to fall, so light that it sounds like silence made visible. Every corner of the world holds its own kind of stillness, and yet all are joined by the same rhythm. The slow turning, the endless drift, the soft surrender to rest. Time continues, but it no longer feels sharp. It is a wide current carrying everything within it. The rise and fall of empires, the laughter of markets, the footsteps of the lost, the whisper of those yet to come. It has no beginning and no end. It moves as the sea moves, as breath moves, as thought fades into dream. Let it drift. Let the centuries fade. The noise of the world has folded into calm. The names, the stories, the victories, all of them have found their way back to quiet. There is no need to hold them. The past is not lost. It has simply gone to sleep. The stars remain watching. The wind moves softly across the earth, through fields, over ruins, across sleeping waters. The world is quiet again. The pulse of history slows until it matches your own. Somewhere beyond sound, the story rests. Not ended, only sleeping, waiting for another dawn to wake it once more. And as your breath joins the rhythm of that long silence, the night deepens around you, vast, patient, eternal. The world, weary from its own remembering, closes its eyes. The story has returned to sleep.